If anyone else wants to tell us stories, you can do that in the suburb. But now where's Rodney? I saw him walk in. Here he is. So I want to tell you about these guys. So I think Lucy Haslam started them off as well with some friends. The hemp expos that have happened in Sydney the last couple of years, and then one in Melbourne this year, and one in Launceston this year. And the Hemp Embassy, we've been to all of them, and I met a whole new crew of people there who have been working over in America where it's been legal, extracting cannabis, and you know, just the difference between it being legal and open is incredible. I told you Asia May bought me a ticket to go over to Vancouver last year. Vancouver was enough, but then we went down because I went at 5 AM on the first train and Trump's men didn't know I had anything to do with cannabis. They will not let you in the country. If you mention cannabis, you're not allowed in the country. So we went to Oregon and Washington State, where it's been legal for a long time. It was so no big deal. These shops were just like any old clean chemist shop sort of, but not like a chemist shop. They got too much crap, you know. This was simple, you know, 20 jars and different tinctures and rosins, but mostly people were smoking buds. And no crappy buds, and all the buds have been tested for any mould or any residue or any toxins, all the different strains, what they're good for different ailments, because there's so many different mixture of cannabinoids making different. It was fantastic just to see it legal and happen. It's just no big deal for anybody. But, you know, I saw businessmen in suits getting a bottle of wine and buying a ready-made joint. It was just nothing. And I honestly think in Australia, when the change comes, and it'll come, it'll be no big deal. And we're going to look stupid. Anyway, I met Rodney down there. He's one of the guys I've met. And Adam here. And where's John? Anyway, they're hiding a bit. And I said to them, you guys are going to come up to Nimbin to one of these workshops and show us a bit of what you learned. And so I'm really impressed they've come. They flew up from Sydney and Melbourne last night, and they're going to give us a bit of an idea of the different extraction methods and how it works. And I brought a bag of mugwort, not weed, because we're totally legal here. Anyway, really welcome. And we've got another mic, Sister, is it true?
No, I lied, I'm such a liar.
Okay. So you just tell us a bit of, you know, what you've been doing and what we're going to do here and whatever.
Yeah. Just like to say thank you to the Nimbin Embassy for having us here and everyone else coming down. So pretty much we're just going to run over some basic extraction methods that we've obviously picked up and acquired over the last few years from what's been happening overseas. Pretty much all the development and that comes from customers asking us questions and what they've seen and, you know, what they're actually after. So these three basic principles to extraction, you know, we obviously do a very low labour intensive one up to a much more extreme, a few more different steps involved, and obviously different qualities and different types of finished outcome, different product, whether it's from solvents using butane, or as a lot of people commonly know, isopropylenes and stuff like that, in your basic Rick Simpson method, or using a non-solvent method which is quite new to the market, which is a Rosin Press, which has come a long way in the last few years. It pretty much started off as, you know, someone using a hair straightener and some parchment paper, you know, and just working its way up into that. And there's already existing machinery that have been around for a long time that people just didn't really think to put two and two together. And just a basic rundown. So yeah, we've been doing it for about 3 years now, and yeah, as we've noticed over the last 3 years, people and their knowledge and information is they're getting more and more clued on as the days go by, which makes it a lot easier to explain some of the stuff to people, and obviously to expand our product and our catalogue as well from what people are asking these days, you know. So
Want some power, don't you? Here's some power coming your way. Yeah, take that. Power.
What do you want to do first,
you can plug that one in, yeah, and just start warming it up. So pretty much just to turn the Rosin Press on, you just need a 10 amp plug it in, flick it on, and I'll run you through the heat settings once she gets warm. So we'll start with basic ice extraction. Yeah, so basic CO2 dry ice extraction. So dry ice can be purchased from any party hire shop or any gas company, Bock Gas in particular. It's very cheap. It's basically the principle of this is from like doing bubble hash, but it makes it a lot more easier and quicker to clean up. So for every 100 grams of flour matter that you have, you put in 1 kilo of dry ice into your bucket. What that will do is start macerating and snapping off all the glands that we're trying to acquire out of it. And all you do is simply put over 2 different micron screens. First trick, and probably the most important thing, is make sure you do it in a closed room. Glands and particles that can come off when sifting are very light, so a draft can blow all your hard work out the window, literally. So you put your plant matter in there. About 2 minutes you want to shake it for. After that, anything that gets darker in matter, it's pulling more chlorophyll out of the actual plant matter, which then lowers your grade of actual extract at the finish. So the first minute's always going to be the best stuff, which is what we call a blonde hash. Scrape it up, collect it, and it's ready to be used as it is, or you can put it into the hash press, the rosin press, sorry. So when you want to press a dry ice sieve, once you finish, you just put into a certain grade of micron bag. Basic rules is you have a 25 micron bag for dry ice sieves, a 45 micron bag for bubble hash, and some people who like to use bags when pressing dry herb, they use a 90 micron bag. Otherwise, best method for pressing dry flour is just to ball it up and put it onto the parchment paper.
Which is baking paper?
Baking paper is really good, yep. A high silicon one, you don't want to use a cheap brand, then you'll find that it will rip. So you always use a high grade silicon or parchment paper. You can get that from hospitality shops. Nothing here is foreign or hard to pick up, you know. And everything that you see here today is available at the Nimbin Hemp Embassy, so they carry a big range.
What's the other bag?
The other bags are 220 micron, and you get a 120 micron bag as well. So it's just going to give the smaller or the larger glands through. Yep, always the first lot that come out is always going to be the better stuff. That also gets included with the hash press as well. So if you want to make little pucks up. Just move this out of the way. Now the big shiny units here, these are for butane extraction, so solvent. Pros of doing butane extraction over doing a heat press extraction, you can do bigger runs pretty much at the end of the day. The only thing that changes is the amount of butane you add to the product. So rule of thumb is 1 can of gas for every ounce of flour matter that you have in there. Other pros over, I guess, the rosin press is you can use lower inferior trim. It doesn't require high grade flour matter to actually do an extract. So it's money for jam pretty much, you could say. A lot of stuff that gets thrown out, it can be put through this unit. So this unit here will do up to 1 pound, and this unit here will do up to 2 ounces. There's also smaller units that can do 1 ounce as well. Basic rule is you want to have your product very, very cold. So leave it in the freezer for 24 hours. Fill up the chamber. So these are all surgical grade 314 stainless steel, so it won't rust.
What's that alarm?
Is it a fire?
No,
A bomb, not a bomb.
So it's really basic principles for these, or you can go online and after this weekend we'll have all instruction manuals and everything that we've talked over today, all available for you to go through at your own leisure. So pretty much basic principle, fill the chamber with your flour matter, make sure it's cold. So as I said, 24 hours in the freezer helps it a lot. Freezing the product down helps actually winterize the product, which in turn makes less wax come through, which holds moisture and water. It gives us a cleaner, clearer product at the end. Less chance of contamination. If you do get wax through it, it's not the end of the day, it's still a usable product. It's just like over whipping cream, you just get butter pretty much. So fill it up with your cold plant matter, put your lid back on. This guy has what we call a de-waxing chamber. So same principle, de-waxing and winterizing is just getting the product cooler, letting less wax come through. So that chamber can be filled with ice or dry ice to bring the whole unit down even colder. The colder you can get your unit, the more cans of butane you can actually get into there, which gives it a better chance of pulling off more trichromes in the finished product. So once we've filled the outer chamber with ice, we put our lid back on, our cap. clamp it back on. This unit will take probably up to 4.5 cans of butane. So the most important thing is when using butane as a solvent for anything like this, traditional lighter fluid just won't do it. We have a medical grade butane that we bring in specially for it. This doesn't contain any mystery lubricants or BPAs that they use to get the gas into the bottles. Its pretty much primary function is to be used as a lighter fluid. Most common ones such as venti and other gases on the market. This one's specifically designed for this process. So the cleaner the gas we have, the cleaner the product's going to be, the easier we're going to be able to extract that gas off at the end, which is the next stage. So once we fill the whole cylinder up completely, then we're ready to open up the bottom valve. And as you start opening up the bottom valve, all that butane that's trapped in there, it's pulled all the trichromes off, will start running out. These simple people refining methods to make it a bit easier for themselves. I find the easiest way is just to hold the unit up or have a friend help you and just pour it straight into jam jars. This one will probably fill about 3 jam jars worth of liquid. That liquid, as soon as it starts to hit the air, will start evaporating. Butane's only a liquid when it's under pressure. When it's not, it will just evaporate off as a gas. So you start noticing it bubbling down quite quick. So you can render those 3 jars down into 1, and then once the whole product's come down to below 1/4 of what you originally had, it's like making toffee. It gets to a certain viscosity, where it gets a lot more stickier and stronger and harder. When it's at that kind of consistency, that's when we put into the last step, which we put onto a silicone mat. So these are heat proof. It'll take like 300 degrees to melt one of these, minus 100 plus to get to freeze. So they're really durable and they're designed to make a messy process a lot cleaner. So you transfer your rendered down oil onto your silicone mat, then it goes under on the mat, and then it goes onto, this is the last and most important process of doing a butane extraction. This kind of what finishes it off and gives you what is called your shatter, because the finished product will be like rock candy. You put your lid on and make sure you have a clean seal on that, and it's as simple as vacuum pumping down the air inside the chamber, closing it off, turning off your vacuum pump and leaving it up maximum 100 hours. The longer the better, pretty much. So now it's under vacuum pressure. The vacuum pressure is pulling all the leftover butane or solvent that you've used out of that finished product. And then after 100 hours, you just take the lid off and it's ready to use. It's ready to use if you want to have it straight into a vaporizer. If you want to make topical workings with it, you can blend it with coconut oil. You could blend it with PEG or VG, vegetable glycerine, for vaporizer use. For people who are trying to quit, using e-liquid if they want a more viscous finished product. Or you could use it straight into baking. It's pretty versatile, but it's giving you a very concentrated, refined product. Purely not requiring any kind of high-grade flour or anything like that. Pretty much the most important thing when using any kind of solvent is think ahead before you start using it. Think of, have you got a phone on you? Have you got a woolen jersey on? Anything that can create combustion, it's not in favour, That's where the pros come in with having a rosin press. You're eliminating a solvent that you need to strip it off, and obviously the element of danger of having explosive gas around. Even down to thinking about where your hot water cylinder is, the pilot light on something like that. So it requires a lot of evaporation, so outside is the best place to do that kind of stuff. And pretty much entry-level kits. A kit like this would cost you probably about $900 retail, and then you put your gas on top of that. Each can of gas retail is about $17 a can. And then up to a bigger unit such like this, probably about $1,600 with all the vacuum pump and vacuum chamber as well. So that covers has anyone got any questions? Yep. When you're using any solvent, it's obviously going to be toxic in some way, whether it's alcohol or a butane gas. It's just obviously using the most purest and clean that you can find. This being specifically designed for the process that we use it for. It's 0.00002% of impurities in there. So at that level, it's not really traceable, and because of the purity and doing the finish vacuum purge on it, it's pretty much gone. Yep.
Can you talk about advantages using the gas compared to the
compared
to ethanol?
Compared to ethanol, well, ethanol you'll always find in the finished product, if anyone's ever tried ethanol or an isopropylene extraction, it's very hard to completely remove it. You're rendering down a solvent primarily, you know. Alcohol, you know, not under pressure or anything, is a liquid solvent. So you'll always have a residue as you render it down. When you're using a can gas like that, obviously it's going to evaporate when it's not under pressure. So it's a lot easier to expel. Yep. It's exactly. So you have a cleaner product and you're not going to compromise terpene profiles as well, which a lot of people want to taste and identify in their finished extract. Alcohol can really just blindfold the whole thing. Not to say there's nothing wrong with it, but for someone who wants to enjoy the taste of the harvest, you could say, butane's very good for that. Does anyone else got any questions? Yeah.
You said that you should be in a draft-free room, and you said you should do it outside.
Draft-free room for when you're making your dry ice hash, because you're snapping off dry trichomes and then collecting them. Yeah, that's not going to explode on you. This stuff will. Any other questions? Yeah.
Where do you get so much flour to fill that stainless steel?
Well, so you don't have to jump in the deep end. That's the largest unit that we have. That's a pound. This one will do 2 ounces, and we also have a 1 ounce unit as well. Yeah. Yep. This 2 ounce package here. The 1 ounce. It's about $750. Yeah. Buy a dozen and it will. Cheaper by the dozen.
How long will that last? Is that a permanent fixture once you bought it?
It's a permanent fixture. Obviously, being a oil vacuum pump, you want to make sure it's full of oil. You want to service it, you know. And it's a 3 CFM pump. So check with your pump to the size of the vessel of your chamber that you're using for your vacuum chamber. These complement each other perfectly. So once it's vacuumed down to negative pressure, you want to close off the valves and turn the pump off. Yeah.
You have to then heat the product to make it THC.
Yep, so you can decarboxylate it. So if you want to do that with this simple process, it's just heat up some water and put your vacuum chamber into a water bath.
And then the active.
Yeah. You'll notice straight away as it heats up that the bubbles become larger to finer to just absolutely gone. So that's a sure sign that all the gases come off and it's decarboxylated and active.
Just on decarboxylation too, between 90 and 110 degrees centigrade for around about an hour and 30 minutes is recommended. So that's coming from the latest studies we're doing in America. So to decarboxylate any of your end products, 90 to 110 degrees, no colder, no hotter.
And then you just use the product direct.
Yeah, that drops the acid off, and then you've got your end product, which is active as such. Otherwise, raw product comes as THCA, CBDA, right, which are all locked up in acid with acid. So you need to decarboxylate raw material to get it to a point where it's useful for medicine. Not saying that the acidic side, the raw material, isn't any good for you, but certainly the results from decarboxylated cannabis is where most of your better results are for with the body. More receptive in the human body, more readily taken up by your CB1 and CBD receptors once they're decarboxylated.
Any other questions, anybody? Alright. So, non-solvent extraction. So there's pretty much 3 different kinds of rosin press. It's a heat press at the end of the day. The only thing that changes is the function of how the press is actually, operated and creates that pressure on the plates. This one is a manual hydraulic rosin press. It's probably it's a jack of all trades. It works really well compared to other forms of rosin presses, mainly for the fact that you can manually give the pressure to the product as you work the press. So we keep it really simple. So the basic rules of when you want to do dry flower extraction on a rosin press is low and slow. So we have 85 degrees set on here. So top plate, bottom plate. Then we have a timer down the bottom. So we have 3 minutes for the time of how long those plates stay in contact with each other. On the other side, which is represents the bottom plate, it's got a timer as well, but that doesn't matter because it's not actually mechanically moving or anything like that. So, first steps of pressing dry flower is obviously it's relevant from pretty much when you plant that seed to when you finish the cure on it. Will dictate totally how your finished product comes out. If we're telling you you're getting yields of 30% off these units, which a lot of people do, it's based on those principles that your flower has a very nice high trichrome content and it's been cured properly. So we find the sweet mark is 55% to 62% relative humidity for the flower to be able to be dry pressed at optimal levels. And that's very easy to achieve with products like Integra. They're two-way humidity control, non-toxic, so you can just chuck those in your bag, seal them off for a couple of days, and that will regulate the humidity before pressing. And speaking, talking about low and slow, so basic principle, 85 to 89 degrees, you'll know after doing your first run at 85 degrees if you need to go up that other 4-degree increment to push more oil out of the flower matter. So that's our low part. The slow part is how long we leave the flower matter in contact with the plate. So we have a rectangle 6 by 4 inch plate here. It's a low heat sink plate, which means when these plates heat up, they're not going to vary a lot in temperature, they're going to stay very consistent. Rectangle, so that when you put the flower product down the middle of the press, everything's pushed out to the side nice and evenly. It's all about distribution of oil from the plant matter and actually getting the most out of it. So the slow part is when we actually start, by pushing start, our time starts ticking down. So that's our 3-minute timer going down. Over that 3-minute period of having the flower matter in there, you want to...
If you guys want to come a bit closer, you can too, by the way.
Come up if you guys want.
Exercise your legs, stretch your muscles, get the blood flowing, pumping.
So once the plates make contact, that's when you want to start your timer. So this is the slow part. We slowly, over 3 minutes, push it up in increments, half a tonne you could say if you want, spaced over 3 minutes to get it up to the full 10-tonne capacity that this unit does. They get bigger. And that's the low and slow part. That's a real basic introduction to pressing dry flower on a rosin press. Quality of your flower, content, you know, quality in the high count of resin and trichrome on your flower, and low and slow. Other people like to go a lot harder, shorter. This is a really, that's idiot proof. Really is a simple and easy way to put it forward.
Will we press some mugwort?
It's all good.
Waste of time.
Press them up.
Yeah.
Dixie, don't put your finger in there, eh?
10 tonnes. Yep, we've got 20-tonne electric units. Sorry, so we've got 20-tonne electric units. That's the next step up would be an electric unit, where you're not hand pumping it. It's all run on electric compressor and stuff like that. They get up to 20 tonnes. It's variable as well, so it has a nice little dial at the front that you can slowly bring it up. And saying that more tonnage doesn't always mean a better press at the end of the day. It always comes down to the quality of what you're putting into that. That's kind of the pro for solvent extraction. The quality is not too really specific at the end of the day, you know. You can use up trim or anything that you have, you know.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question?
You sure can.
With the Rosin Press, what's your extraction? Is it 98% or something? And then with the butane, what's your extraction? Is it about 98%
Of
or
finished
95%?
product or
Yeah, of finished product.
finished product,
Like how
yeah.
much remains on the leaf?
On the leaf, well, it's hard to count what's left on the
1 or
leaf.
2%, do you reckon? Or?
Nah. On this, after 10 tonnes, it's pretty much all pushed out. Different flowers obviously have a different porous content to it, so when pressing, it depends, you know, some flowers might have more of a porousness where it will take more oil and not
And
push
with
out
the
as much.
butane, is there much resin or anything left behind?
No, completely stripped out, yeah, from freezing it. So finished results, you should get 10% off a butane extract, and they say about 30% finished product off the rosin press.
Oh, just 10%.
Yeah. But you know, saying that, that'll take about 330 grams, so 10% at 33 grams.
So that means there's still stuff on the leaf then? on the buds and that. Still trichomes on.
Well, you could do a second run through it and that would show you how much would be left on it, but your percentages would drop from 10% down to like the 2 to 3% after that. The more you keep extracting on anything, the more you're going to pull chlorophyll matter out, the darker your oil is going to be as well.
So you actually wrap the buds up in that wax paper, or how let's pretend they're buds?
Well, we're going to pretend this is,
do you actually wrap it up in the wax paper?
well,
If
we
you
pretend
had
this
real
is,
buds, what would you do?
if it was real,
Yeah. This is just crappy old leaf.
yeah.
They've never pressed leaf before.
Well, usually you'd have, quite a resinous component to it, so it would nicely form and hold together, and then you put it onto the centre of your parchment paper. So you always want to try and centre it up, fold her over, and then create some nice grooves down the side. All about capturing it and having it come back out. Other people get real fancy and they'll use magnets and stuff like that to hold down their greaseproof paper, just to create a nice channel for it to flow out. If you're pressing things like lavender seed or rosehip, a 90 micron bag would be a lot better for it. So we have these nylon micron bags, so food grade, so you turn her inside out. And this is, the bags are pretty much designed obviously just to keep all the matter inside of it and press out what we want. So Adam's just going to pack that up. Always be careful when pressing with bags that you don't overfill them. You can get what's called obviously blowout. If you get too much pressure in it, it's got to go somewhere and the sand can break.
And you'll be splattered with trichominous
Yeah.
sticky resin.
You'll lose a bit, but what you do is you actually get plant matter into the finished product that you have, which is a bit more harder to get out.
So for you, ideally, this is going to be much more ideal because you've got no foreign solvent in there. But what you're saying is you've got to have good buds to kind of make it worthwhile.
You do, you do. And that's exactly what you just said. You've got to have good buds, and what I've been saying as well. But the other benefits of that as well was using a dry ice hash mixture, which you can bag up and press as well, or if you have a bubble hash that you've made as well, they can be pressed. So.
Is that enough?
Yeah, it should do.
Just a demo.
Hopefully it doesn't blow out. Just clear the front 2 rows. Sorry, what was that? One of these retail for 2,800. Yeah. So about 2,800 complete kit. Bags about $25, and these come in packs of 10. So you've got quite a few there. And then obviously, what was I saying? 800 for the 2 ounce, and about 1,600 for the 1 ounce. Yeah. 1 pound, sorry. So we put the bag in the wax paper. Obviously, it's well, you always want to have the good high-grade parchment paper, because the plate won't collect it, it'll just cook it. It's easier, I might just come down the front.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't block the view of my camera, because I'll get it on camera.
What is this, Michael?
Mugwort.
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 So, oops.
If it was illegal, the cops would have been here by now. They're onto it.
Another spillage on the stage.
You could see yourself in the camera there.
So
if you want, you could see yourself.
So I think quite a lot of you saw Radical do an extraction out there with ethanol before. From what I don't understand much, but keeping it simple, what he's aiming for is to get a really clean product without any foreign stuff in it. He's saying you can never really get all the alcohol out.
You play the camera.
Maybe you can get all the gas out, I think, but You know, this is just totally no foreigners involved. So I get what you're on about.
Also, the reason people are making concentrates is because cannabinoids are the medicine. The leaf and the flower matter is just a carrier. So ultimately we're after the cannabinoids the plant makes. So the smaller they are, the more concentrated they are, the easier it is to carry, to dose, to store. You know, I mean, it's one thing having flowers open around your house, you know, children around the house, you don't particularly want them running into that type of medicine. This can be concentrated down about 1/10th, 1/20th, 1/50th size, put away in the fridge or the freezer in a container and for no one else to see. Exactly.
The butane gas? Yep. 10% finished product.
Sister, you take the mic and hold it for him, would you? You need a head mic where you just clip onto your ears, you know those things? You got any of them?
I'll be his head mic.
Yeah, you give it to him.
You can be like Madonna.
Alright, so I've just put the mugwort in there and we're just pressing it up now. So this is virgin territory. This is, I've never done this before with this. Lavender oil works a treat at these kind of settings, but everything is always going to be, you know, it's a different application. Yeah, that's the main thing. It's, you know, low and slow. Other presses that they just give it straight out, 8 tons worth of pressure, 6 tons worth of pressure. This, yeah, it's just bang straight on. This way we can gradually bring it out, push, 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 push. We don't know. It's never pressed this stuff before. It might not do anything.
What traditionally happens? Just collects on the paper.
It will collect on the paper. That's why we try and make a nice fold on it, so it has an escape point for it. You can always use, obviously, a silicone mat to catch that as well.
In the olden days, if there was no resin, you would have been, they would have thought you were a snake charmer.
Yeah, snake oil, yeah.
You've been headhunted out of here. Tarred and feathered.
But we don't know what's going to come up with this. So right now it's sitting at 8,000 tonnes, 8,000 tonnes of pressure. Yeah. So it's not much work at all to really get it up to that, so it's very easy user-friendly.
What's the heat? 85?
We set it to 85 degrees Celsius. So 3-button run through, very easy. So we'll stop that. So SP is for your temperature. So a little Celsius indicator that comes up there. And you click through to your set time plate. So that sets the time on the plate for how long it's in contact for. Hold down, and then she's running.
So would you consider that decarboxylated as well through this process?
If you get it up to that heat process, it was over 90 degrees that you were saying, Adam?
Yeah,
yes,
between 90 and 100.
Yep.
Even though it's under an hour?
Well, this is an interesting question.
Pressure,
I mean,
yeah.
if you take raw material and you put it into a pipe and smoke it, ultimately you're decarboxylating it in seconds.
Yeah.
It's just what they've found is to get the maximum amount decarboxylated at the right amount. It was actually Ardent or Trident, which is a small company over in America that are actually making these little decarboxylation cups where you can basically grow your own herb, buy one of these tiny little cups. It's battery powered. You put your herb in there, you switch it on for an hour and a half, and it will heat the cup up to 95, between 95 and then slowly to 110 degrees over an hour and a half. What their studies have shown, that is the maximum time beneficial. There's no point in going any further than that. But that was their decarboxylation process that they found. Against other things, they've found that to be the maximum amount of decarboxylation, giving you the most amount of active ingredient. So it's not a fixed rule, an hour and a half. That's just, there's no point in going any further than that. It's scientifically proven now, and certainly up to that. But it was between those temperatures where you will get the maximum. Nothing saying you can't do it the old-fashioned way. Raw herb in the oven, sit it on 100 degrees, shut the oven door, an hour later out it comes. You know, I mean, with all the science in the world, this is absolutely extracting the very, very best you can out of it. But at the end of the day, you know, there's nothing wrong with the old homewares ways. You know, an hour in the oven is enough. You know, a piece of flour in the end of your pipe is enough. It works.
Can you do this on cold?
On cold? You really want to be warming up the trichrome somewhat to release it away from the actual plant matter. Yeah.
Anything come out?
You've got a little bit out. So you can see on the finish what we call, the finished thing is always called a puck. Because obviously, we probably, by looking at that, I say I probably need a bit more heat. Yep. So a bit more heat. So simple again, just click the set button to bring up the temperature. And hold down and hit set. I find it's always best to work in increments of 5 degrees Celsius when working with any kind of extraction which requires heat. That way you're not overshooting the mark. Yep. Does anyone have any questions? Wait, sorry, in the front. Yes, there are smaller options in the Rosin Press. This is just obviously a larger one. We can get ones in that do only like 2 tonnes, which is a smaller square plate, but very affordable. Probably about a third of the price. Yeah.
Yeah, they also make them as small as almost like a toasted sandwich maker. These things are quite inexpensive. Yeah, just a hand press, and I mean ultimately again you're not getting 100% of what you possibly could, but as far as you medicating yourself and extracting medicine, that's okay.
Oil, yeah, that's the basic principle. We're trying to put the plant matter under pressure to extract the essential oils that can come off it. Yeah. If there's not any oil that's been released off it, it can come down to there's a few variable factors. It could be the quality of the flour, or it might not be hot enough. Sometimes just giving it a few more extra, 2 or 3 degrees or 5 degrees can release a lot more oil out of something. Yeah.
So what about the biscuit of plant matter left? Is that nice with cheese or something?
You could do, yeah, it's a very thin wafer cracker. It could be good with some cheese. But yeah, nothing's wasted at the end of it. Yeah, you can definitely use that. It's just a decarboxylated puck. Yeah, because being flour as well, it's porous. It's still going to retain some oil in it. So yeah, at communal on Sunday, you could commune, you could give it to each other.
Sorry, how long did you have to press it for again?
We did that, well, for dry flour, we do it for 3 minutes at 85 degrees. Yep. Just we're just heating it up a bit more and see what more. It's more just playing around with it and seeing how it comes out. Do you want to?
Is it going to be fully dry, like really dry?
The finished product? Yes, it can be actually.
No, the flour.
Yeah, like what
you're pressing.
Yeah, what you're pressing.
Yep, you're pressing it. Well, your flour has to be 55% to 62% relative humidity. Yep. Not dry at all. No. We've got some free samples here today as well of humidity control packs if you want to give them a try. Yep. Bubble hash is really easy, so that's just an old form of making a little hash, with water and ice. So you put, you fill a bucket with your very dry trim or flour matter. Have that frozen. It's always good to have the product cold. Put it into a bucket, cover it with ice cold water just so it covers the product, the plant matter, and then you want to put about 60% of ice to the amount of product that you've got in there, or plant matter. And then a good old way is just getting a power drill and a paint mixer and just agitating that bucket for about 15 minutes. Then you want to get a secondary bucket, and the kits usually come with about 4 different grades of micron. I think it's 25, 45, 90, and then they go up to 120, 220. So you start with your finer, you'll start filling your bucket with your finer bags, working way up to your higher ones, your 220. And then you just let your first mix settle, then start transferring that water mix into your bucket. Once you've filled up your bucket, you start pouring back the screens. As it cools up, you pull the screens down, and bring up that first screen, scrape it off, let it dry, and then you just keep repeating the process. Take out the next bag, pull it down, scrape the screen. The water's designed just to freeze and snap off the glands off the flour that we're trying to get. Yeah. We'll make sure that that's all posted up on the website at Cloud Cave afterwards. Yep. And any information or any pamphlets or brochures or anything like that we'll have sent to the guys at Nimbin.
What's the website again?
Cloudcave.com. Cloudcave.com. And you guys are online as well, yeah?
What was that? What was that?
You got a website?
Hempembassy.net.
Yep.
Yeah, but you, what are you going to find on that about this? Nothing much.
We can
You
post
guys
up a
have got
download on
website?
it.
You
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
good website?
Cloud
Show me a t-shirt.
Cloud Cave, CLOUD CAVE. Yep. Yep. We got just a stand out there, so after the talk you can just come see us, we'll give you a show bag and some free magazines and stuff like that. Yeah. Yep.
Where are your products made?
Well, obviously China is where a lot of these things come out of, primarily to make it affordable for everybody to be able to use. We're very quick in returns. If there's any problem, we swap it out straight away, no hassles. A lot of these machines come with like 3-year warranties on them. Yep.
What if you go over the 90 degrees?
Well, you're just going to put more heat on your product. You could turn that up to 300 degrees Celsius if you wanted to. Yeah.
What happens?
It'll just burn it. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing better than that. Some people like going a bit hotter. They might do 120 degrees and do it really fast. But yeah, it changes and decarboxylates, and it can change the terpenes as well. Basic rule of thumb that we give here: 85 degrees, 3 minutes. Yeah. Nothing. Nothing that I can think of. Yeah. Well, these weren't, they weren't originally designed for this product, this function. They probably, could use for pressing t-shirts or, yeah, laminates.
Just 1 second, Rodney. I think Teresa and the first doctor, was it the first? Deb. They talked about the entourage effect, and of course that involves terpenes. And the higher the pressures go and the higher the heat goes, you start to destroy those terpenes. They come in cannabis, and they're quite healthy. They help clean receptors in your body prior to absorption. So again, the holistic approach is always the best approach. The more of these natural compounds that you can collect and keep, the better the product's going to work. So the reason I guess Rodney's telling you to start at a low temperature and work your way up, you might find your extraction a little bit more successful at a higher heat rate, excuse me, but once you start to go over 120 degrees, you really start to destroy a lot of the terpenes and some of the compounds in the plant. So we'll always start cool and then work our way up with heat to find a happy medium between the maximum extraction and the maximum quality of extraction, both being quite important.
Pardon? Yes, yes. So the metal that's in there is aluminum blend, and it's a lot. They're heat sinks so that they don't overheat too much. They keep a real consistent, regulated heat on it. Yeah. Does that help answer your question?
Heat extraction method.
Heat extraction, rosin. Yeah. So yeah, rosin is pretty much covers that name and embodies the whole thing of heat and press.
Is the 90 degrees, say 90 degrees, sufficient to completely decarboxylate the oil? Sufficient, or it needs further heating later?
Probably need probably a bit higher. Yeah.
Well,
you lose different terpenes at different heats, don't you?
Yeah, well, once again, up to, between 90 and 110 is maximum. Slightly below and slightly above, you start to lose what is your full potential. So there's definitely going to be decarboxylation there. Even with critical CO2 extraction, which is what most people are using en masse now for large medicines. You've probably all heard of Elixinol and a few of these really big manufacturers overseas. They're all using critical CO2 extraction and subcritical now. And what they're doing is they're finding different pressures will again destroy terpenes. And unfortunately, with the critical CO2, you'll get the most and you'll get the cleanest product overall, because CO2 obviously is not harmful to us in very, very small quantities. But of course, you'll knock out all your terpenes. So it's give and take. There's a lot of give and take here. There's so many different compounds in cannabis. It's really hard to have one fits all extraction where you're going to get all the terpenes or all the THC or all your CBD or your CBN or your CBGs. There's so many things going on there. So again, if you can get between 90 and 110 for a period of time, you're going to get as much as you can. You're going to recover most of your terpenes and most of your cannabinoids.
The pressure will kill the terpenes as well.
Pressure kills terpenes. So with the supercritical CO2 extractions, they've found that, yeah, the terpenes aren't nearly as high. And they're finding all this stuff out at places like the Emerald Cup, which is a competition over in California where people take all their extractions there to be voted on and judged. So they're quite liberal there. And yeah, they'll basically test them all out. They'll test them for pollutants, they'll test them for pesticides, and they'll test them for terpene profile as well. And it's actually the butane that's giving you the highest terpene profiles. But it's they're finally getting the system down now where they've got no butane left at all. So they're perfecting their extraction methods. So there isn't any butane, so there is no pollutant whatsoever in their extractions. So yeah, critical CO2 being the cleanest but the most expensive by far. Butane being the second best method for extraction, also a little bit expensive, but certainly probably the next best method for a total recovery of all your compounds. And then of course, for those of us who don't have a lot of money, there's always a hair straightener and a piece of baking paper. But of course this takes it to a whole new level. But I mean, again, don't discount, the basic things that people do. There's so many ways to extract cannabinoids. That's all we're really interested in doing, is extracting cannabinoids. A lot of people don't like to smoke, and that's fine. A lot of carcinogens come with smoking cannabis, just like smoking cigarettes, just like smoking anything. But don't discount that smoking is the only way to get medicine. A lot of people like smoking herb, but there's better ways, to give medicine, healthier ways. And I guess when you start to get it like this, the methods of extracting cannabinoids give you a healthier delivery system. Eating, digesting, sticking them in enteric-coated capsules down the hatch, or even just smoking or vaping these products is a lot healthier than smoking weed by itself. There's always going to be carcinogens when you light up leaf matter. So we're trying to avoid that, making this a healthier way to deliver medicine to you guys.
You mentioned enteric-coated capsules. Is it preferable to get it past the stomach acidity and
Yeah. 100%. There's numerous ways you can take cannabis into your body. Smoking, obviously, and that's by far the fastest way to get a reaction from cannabis. Secondly is under the tongue. A lot of receptors under there. Dropping drops straight under your tongue is the next most commonly practiced way to do it. If you can drop it into enteric-coated capsules, that'll bypass, you go past the first pass effect. So you're down into hopefully getting down into your lower intestine at that point, or upper intestine at that point in time. So all your acids in your stomach and everywhere else that will basically break down some of these cannabinoids and disable them before they get into your bloodstream. Definitely enteric-coated capsules is a better way to deliver. So if you can manage to get your hands on some quality CBD oil or cannabis oil, the capsule guy, if everyone wants to know, you can go online. I think you can buy 100 capsules, enteric-coated capsules for $10. They'll post them out to you. Obviously you pay on Visa, you post them out. Drops go straight into your enteric-coated capsules, down the hatch, bit of water, and that'll get it down past the first pass effect and then into your upper intestine where it's going to be much better. The fourth way is to shelve it. And certainly with certain types of, as we've observed, with certain types of cancers and things, you need to be as close to the source as possible. So, people might roll their eyes at the fact that I don't want to stick something up their backside, but I can tell you now, if I had rectal cancer or something like that, I would be 100% doing that.
Kidney disease also. Kidney disease also is a good way of administration.
There we go, yep.
Yeah, it works.
Absolutely.
What's the most common method used among the professional extractors in America in the professional
Well, butane's illegal in the state of California, which is obviously, the leading state of county and all that for manufacturing. So CO2 is what they do over there. Yeah. Yeah. You can do a bigger run through the CO2 extraction method as well. Yeah. And then reintroduce terpenes, organic. Some people use synthetic terpenes back into it.
recreational use and medical use?
BHO was actually quite big as well in Washington State because it's not illegal, but a lot of manufacturers aren't willing to take that risk in California, so CO2 is their main, and that's what the market's really hunting for, obviously because of, it's cleaner extraction and stuff like that. Pardon?
And safer.
And safer. Yeah.
Safer at the end, less residue, nothing harmful there, and safer in its manufacturing process.
The terpenes just, they are lost, as Adam was saying, but what the good companies will do, they'll reintroduce terpenes back into it. So it's like getting blood out of a stone. They kind of have like a terpene bank, because you get such a minute amount of organic terpene back out through extraction that they have a certain process for doing, and then they just stockpile it and then they can reintroduce it back in, as opposed to using a synthetic terpene. Yeah. CBD?
Oh, BHO, butane. Yeah. People call it BHO, some people call it butane. Yeah, they are both one and the same.
Yeah. More questions?
So, just a funny one. Would you do it with a sandwich press? One of those flat sandwich
I'd like to see you give it a go, yeah. Any heat or pressure, that's the basic principle of what it, someone probably even did, they've probably used it. Well, it's hard to regulate the heat, you know. From grill to sandwich setting, it's hard to say what's hot or not, you know, so there'll be a bit of trial and error, really.
That's not that extravagant.
Yeah. Hair straightener is the best
will be
option.
a lot better. Yeah, just use a hair straightener. Yeah. You might have one. Basically, heat and pressing, yeah. On this, it's well, of course you wouldn't want to burn your hair, so yeah, basic principle as well, yeah.
10 tons of cricket.
I hope she can't get 10 tons of cricket in there.
Depends what I've done.
Yeah.
Can you reuse the bags or you don't use the wax?
Yeah, reusing the bags, probably not, no. They're not that expensive anyway at the end of the day, and you know, you could have run the risk of weakening the seams on it and causing a blowout, and it could be a bit more messy trying to get the product back in and out, yeah.
So that's about the maximum amount you can put in there in that little bag?
Well,
That press?
and that press, look, you could probably fill that with just over a quarter, yeah, would be safe. They're designed for small runs, really, yeah. But you can do many over and over and over and over without the labour-intensive processes that go through into other processes, other kinds of extraction. No, they're a high-grade nylon bag, so not plastic. So none of that will melt into the product. Yeah.
Have you used the toasty bags in that?
Yep, any kind of high-grade silicone or parchment paper, yeah, will work, yeah.
And you'd be able to reuse the toasty
No.
bags.
We find when you do a second run again with any kind of parchment, even I think this guy here, when I just did it then, you'll find it gets real fragile, and we just break through. Yeah.
So is that ordinary baking paper that you bake with?
Yep, it is. Yep. The best stuff comes from any catering supplier where you get a higher grade of silicon countermint. Yeah.
Does it just run off that?
That's the aim. Yeah, you want it to run off. So once you put your parcel into it, you want to fold nice slides on it to help channel that flow off it. Yeah. You'll find it will ooze more when you're doing a bubble hash press or a dry ice hash press. There's a lot more crystals and grains there to press as opposed to porous flour.
Yeah, when you're using really decent flours, you'll find quite a lot will come off, and basically you just take a razor blade and you can just scrape it off the paper and put it into a dish and put it in the fridge so it hardens. Really easy. Yep.
Might be it. You've got a beat.
Beer o'clock.
What do you reckon? Any more questions?
We're here tomorrow as well, yeah, so don't feel afraid to come up and approach us and ask us anything. Consider anything a stupid question. They're all valuable at the end of the day, you know. Cool. Thank you so much for your time.